If two states have very different populations, but their political representation does not change accordingly, is that fair? This is exactly the question at the heart of India's delimitation debate. Hello everyone, my name is Rajni Jha. Welcome to Drishti IAS. In today's session, we will talk about delimitation and the debate around it. Let's get started. First, why is this in news? The Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly has passed a resolution urging the centre to permanently freeze the number of Lok Sabha seats at the existing number of 543 and maintain the present state-wise distribution of those seats. But the question is, why were they frozen in the first place? And in order to understand that, we'll have to go back in time in the 1971 census. So India froze the allocation of Lok Sabha seats among states based on the 1971 census to encourage population control. What is that? See, first of all, what is a census? Census is the official counting of the population, getting the information about population and counting of the population, right? In 1971 census, so population was counted and it was found out that the population was increasing at a very fast pace. Why is that important for us to know? Because that is directly related to why the seats were frozen. So according to the census, whenever census happens, what is done is based on the census, Lok Sabha seats are allotted to each state to ensure equal representation, equal political representation. What does that mean? Now let's say there is a state A. Now state A has 100 people and 10 MPs. So what does that mean? That means that for every 10 people, there is one MP. That means 10 people choose one MP, right? Now, in the case of state B, let's say there are again 100 people, but there are only 5 MPs. Now, what does that mean? In this case, it means that there are 20 people who choose one MP. 20 people choose one MP. So, if we equate the number, that means for state A, if I talk about 20 people are going to choose 2 MPs because 10 people choose 1 MP. And in state B, on the other hand, 20 people choose only 1 MP. So which state has better representation? Of course, state A has better representation because for the same number of people, there are more MPs in state A. So state A has better representation. So for more number of MPs, if there are more number of MPs for the same number of people, that shows greater representation per person. And the aim of delimitation is to keep the number of people represented by each MP roughly the same. Why? So that the value of vote of each person is roughly the same to ensure political equality, to ensure political democracy in our country, right? So ideally, Lok Sabha seats are allocated among states based on population to ensure broadly equal representation. To ensure equal representation. So in 1971, as I told you, in that census, it was found out that the population was increasing at a very fast pace. And at that time, the population was more or less similar among all the states. So the seats were frozen. The allocation of Lok Sabha seats among states, that was frozen. And the idea, the logic was, you control your population, otherwise you will lose the political representation. Because think about it, I told you, if there are more number of people and less number of Lok Sabha seats, less number of MPs, that means the political representation is less. So the idea behind freezing this number of Lok Sabha seats among states was the fact that if you don't control your population, you will lose political representation. So control population so that you don't lose political representation. And that's what is explained in the first line, that India froze the allocation of Lok Sabha seats among states based on the 1971 census to encourage population control. Next, so what is delimitation? As I've already explained, delimitation is the redrawing of the boundaries and determining the number of seats of electoral constituencies based on the population. So delimitation is any area is divided into smaller constituencies, electoral constituencies. What is a constituency? A constituency is a specific area. So let's say this is an area, this will be a constituency. Any area is divided into constituencies such that the people, there are roughly equal number of people in each constituency, because every constituency is going to elect one representative. And this will ensure equal, roughly equal, broadly equal political representation. So this drawing of boundary and determining the number of seats of this electoral constituency, that is called delimitation. So the area is constituency and this drawing of boundary is delimitation. Now the question is, why do we need delimitation? We require delimitation so that people should have broadly equal representation, as I've already explained to you, to ensure that the value of vote of each person is roughly the same, to ensure political democracy. Right? Now, what happened freezing of um, after freezing of seats in 1971 census, after 1971 census, and now in 2026, what happened was some states effectively controlled population, but others could not. For example, in Uttar Pradesh, 2026 projected population is around 24.35 crore, and the Lok Sabha seat is 80. So there are 80 MPs. So people per MP is 30.4 lakh. That means one MP will be chosen by approximately 30 lakh people. But in the case of Kerala, they effectively controlled population, and now the 2026 projected population is 3.62 crore approximately, and the Lok Sabha seats MPs are 20. So that means here there are 18 lakh people which are representing one MP. So in Kerala, one MP is chosen by 18 lakh people. Now you tell me which have better political representation. Which of these has better political representation? Of course, Kerala right now has better political representation because they were able to control the population. As we saw earlier, whichever state is going to have a lot of population, and if the number of seats are fixed, that means they will lose their political representation, or they will have lesser political representation. So what is the obvious demand here? The obvious demand is to ensure political representation. Uttar Pradesh should have more number of seats, but the total number of Lok Sabha seats, that is fixed, 543. If the number is fixed and you require one state to increase the number of seats, that means that number of seats will come from somebody else, from some other state. So that means the number of seats in, let's say, South Indian states will be less. Now, of course, that is wrong. Why is that wrong? This is a problem. This is actually problematic for South Indian states. Why is this problematic? Because in states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, they generally have lower population growth, plus they successfully controlled the population. So now they will have relatively fewer states, and this will reduce their political influence. Meanwhile, the more populous states like UP, which A, could not achieve the objective of controlling the population, B, they will gain seats. So delimitation could alter the political balance between these regions, and that is a problem. A solution to this was given in a way by saying that you can increase the Lok Sabha seats. That just simply increase the Lok Sabha seats. If you increase the Lok Sabha seats, each state will get more seats rather than taking seats from one state and giving it to other. Right? But what is the problem with that? I will talk about this in a while. The problem with that is absolute representation increases, but relative representation does not increase. What does that mean? Let's say in Tamil Nadu right now there are 50 MPs, right? Out of 543, 50 MPs out of 543, 39 MPs. Right now there are 39 MPs. So 39 MPs out of 543, that would mean what percentage? This is just 7.2 percentage. But if we talk about increasing Lok Sabha seats, let's say now there are 850 seats after increasing, and the number of MPs have also increased. So now there are 50 MPs out of 850. So what is the percentage? On the face value, it looks like earlier there were 39 MPs only, and now there are 50 MPs. So the number of seats have increased. So absolute number has increased, that is true. But has the representation truly increased? And that is called relative representation. So if we talk about 50 MP out of 850, that means it is just 5.9% of the total number. So when we talk about political influence in Lok Sabha, it depends not only on how many MPs you have, but also on how many MPs you have compared to everyone else, compared to the total seat. That determines the political influence. But here, as we can see, if we simply expand Lok Sabha, that does not mean that it will solve this problem. Because overall effective representation may still be the same, or it may be less as compared to other states. So more number of seats does not necessarily mean political weight. It does not necessarily mean more political weight. That is the problem. Okay. But why is this a major controversy right now? As I've already explained, this is a major controversy right now because it is a tension between two democratic principles. What two democratic principle? Principle number one is representation by people. What does that mean? That if there are more people, they should have more representation, right? Just like we saw in the case of UP, if there are more number of people, there should be more representation. But that would also challenge federal fairness or federal equality, because the states that effectively controlled population should not be punished for it, should not be politically penalized for it. And this is the major dilemma that is happening between these two democratic principles. That should a state that successfully controlled population growth be politically penalized for doing so? That is the major debate right now that's going on. So, as I told you, one solution they gave was increase the number of Lok Sabha seats, but we saw that is not a solution. That was the one problem, that will create another problem. What is another problem? Right now we have two sabhas, right? Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And if I increase the number of Lok Sabha by keeping Rajya Sabha number constant, that will threaten the federal structure of our nation. How? That is going to threaten the federal structure of our nation. How? Lok Sabha represents people directly, and Rajya Sabha is called Union of States, so it represents states. Sorry, Council of States, not Union, Council of States. So it represents states at the center. So Lok Sabha represents people, Rajya Sabha represents state. Now, if we say that Lok Sabha becomes much larger and Rajya Sabha remains roughly the same size, then the numerical dominance of Lok Sabha increases. And this will create a problem because Rajya Sabha is equally important, especially in our federal structure, right? Rajya Sabha is called Council of States if it gives states a voice at the central level or the union level, right? So if we make this number much larger, this will effectively make this weaker, and that will threaten the federal structure. So that is another problem that rises with increasing the number of Lok Sabha. Plus, I'm sure you already know that there is a provision of joint sitting. As such, right now also the number of Lok Sabha members is higher than as compared to the Rajya Sabha members. If it becomes significantly very high, then anyway it will have more dominance. Plus, there is no point of debates also because we know that one house has such a great number that it is going to win at the end, right? So, effectively, it weakens Rajya Sabha and that creates another federal problem. Then there is another issue, which is parliamentary function. If the number of MPs increases, but parliamentary working days remain the same, then what will happen? There will be less time to speak for each MP, for them to participate effectively, and there will be less meaningful debate and scrutiny. And the backbone of parliament is its discussions, its scrutiny, its meaningful debate, so that uh, nothing problematic can happen, nothing can happen, no principles can come into force just in haste, just hastily, right? It is never arbitrary because there are a lot of discussions and debates that are involved in this entire process. So that is another problem, that is another issue. Now, what are the important constitutional provisions related to this? The first is Article 81. Article 81 deals with the composition of Lok Sabha. So that means it tells us about how Lok Sabha is structured and represented. Then is Article 82, which is most closely related to delimitation. It deals with readjustment after census. What does that mean? That it provides for readjustment of seats and territorial constituencies after a census according to a law made by Parliament. Then is Article 170, which is just like 82, but for states. So it does the same thing, but for state legislative assemblies. Then Article 327, it gives Parliament power to make election laws, right? So it mainly the Parliament can make laws relating to delimitation of constituencies because of this Article 327. And then there is Article 329, which restricts court interference in electoral matters. In fact, we will talk about delimitation commission also. Once it decides, then it is also out of the purview of courts. Courts cannot interfere in it. Next is important amendments. The first is 42nd Amendment, which froze interstate allocation of Lok Sabha seats that we have been talking about for last 5 minutes. Then 84th Amendment 2001, which extended the freeze until first census after 2026, which is why it is a debate now. It's 2026 and up until now it was frozen. So now there's a chance that it can be changed, that delimitation can happen. That is why it is in question now. It is in debate now. So 84th Constitutional Amendment Act 2001 extended this freeze until first census after 2026, but it allowed constituency readjustment within the states. What does that mean? Now let's say a state has, so there are two things. First, how many Lok Sabha seats a state gets. For example, UP gets, let's say, X seats, right? And Kerala gets Y seats. The second thing is how those seats are divided within the state, inside the state. So where those X constituencies are located, that will be decided by the state. So when we talk about 84th Amendment, it will say that Kerala has 20 seats, right? This 20 seats will be fixed. But within Kerala, the boundaries of these 20 constituencies can be readjusted. That's what it means. So the total number of seats that it has, 20, it is fixed. But within the state, how these 20 will be arranged, that can be changed. The boundary can be changed. So that boundary can be readjusted within the states. Then 87th Amendment Act 2003, it allowed the constituency delimitation using 2001 census. So this line that I'm talking about, this readjustment of constituency can happen according to 2001 census. That's what 87th Amendment 2003 said. While overall seat, the 20 seat will still remain the same. Those were frozen. Next is, I've already told you why it matters in 2026. Next, delimitation and women's reservation. It is related to women's reservation also. I'll tell you how. So 106th Constitutional Amendment 2023, it provides for women's reservation in Lok Sabha and state assemblies. And that is why it is directly connected to delimitation as well, because first what will happen? First, there will be a census which will provide population data. Then delimitation will determine or reorganize these constituencies. Then we will decide which of these constituencies, how many of these constituencies will get women's reservation, because 1/3 is given, right? 1/3 reservation should be there, but for that we need to know how many constituencies are there in the first place, where they are in the first place, and that is why it is related or linked to delimitation. So first there will be census, we will know about the population, then delimitation will happen, which will organize the constituencies, and then we will see where to apply the women's reservation and how much in how many constituencies. Now, last part, which is the Delimitation Commission, as I told you that it is done by the Delimitation Commission. Delimitation Commission is established under a law made by Parliament, and it is different from Election Commission. It is not the same as Election Commission. So who carries out delimitation? Delimitation Commission. Delimitation Commission determines and reorganizes constituencies, and Election Commission conducts elections. Right? Now, before we move ahead, right now we have our World Mapping Continent series going on, and today was the first session sharp at 7 p.m. I'm sure you must have seen it. If you haven't, then go and watch that session. It's going to be extremely helpful for your examination. And this session will be given to you every Wednesday and Saturday sharp at 7 p.m. So don't forget to join. Now we come to the last part of our session, which is prelims practice question. And the first question is, consider the following statements about delimitation. First, delimitation involves redrawing the boundaries of electoral constituencies. Second, its objective is to ensure broadly equal representation based on population. And third, the Election Commission alone conducts the delimitation exercise. So you have to tell me which of these is correct. And that's it for today's session. I really hope you enjoyed the lecture, and I would love to know from all of you that what should be the solution to this? How can we ensure political representation while also ensuring federal equality? And I would be looking forward to all your answers. So that's it for today's session. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you again in the next class. And until then, take care.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.